This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
BooBaes. Hi,
Oh, hello, and welcome to
to BooBaes.
BooBaes. That's right. We're your hosts. I'm Caitlin,
And I'm Joshua.
and we're back
We're
from
back.
our now semi-regular year-long
Our
hiatus.
semi-annual, our dry January, basically.
Yeah, where we just take some time off for the holidays.
Just basically it's like a month, but it doesn't feel like a month because it's not the whole month. It's like the last 2 weeks of December and like the first 2 weeks of January,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, it has been a hot second. The last movie we recorded was Silent Night, Deadly Night.
That one. Oh,
That feels like a lifetime ago.
It really does. But Happy New Year. And
Happy New Year.
thank you to everybody who's tuning in and who are eager to be listening to us two just doing what we do.
Yep,
Bullshitting.
talking to y'all again. Bullshitting.
Bullshitting and
Bullshit, mama.
talking about today's movie, a sequel to Smile. Smile 2. Yeah, I was kind of like, I mean, I get like, what could you have called it? I'm like, because it's just very like Smile 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you think they should have called it Smiles, like with just an S? Like, go the aliens route?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think Smile 2 is fine.
Smiley.
Smile more.
Smile more. Or what if they called it like, wait, a frown? No, that does not.
Well, they did keep turning everything upside down.
In this one,
Turn
right?
frown, upside down.
At least like 5 times.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole movie.
And I was a little confused. I was like, why are we turning everything upside down?
I thought because maybe it was only the first time with the title card because it made it look like a smile. But in all the
it
other
already
times,
looked like a smile. Whenever they turned it upside down, it looked like a frown.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
And I was like, because I was expecting, I didn't like the title card. I was expecting them to just like red font on the screen like they were doing with all the other, and just Smile 2 with the smile being at the bottom, the blood.
Yeah.
And that would have been mwah, chef's kiss.
I'm trying to
But
remember
then they
the
went
first
super
one.
disco, and which is fine. It makes sense for the film. So like I get it. It's not like I didn't like the title card. It just wasn't
You were
my
expecting
favorite.
or wanting something different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which brings us to the opening start of this film, which is taking us right into the hot seat of where we left off 7 days from the first film, which is
6 days later with Kyle's character, which I forgot because this film is starring Naomi Scott, Ray Nicholson, Kyle Gallner, Dylan Galula, and lots of other people. But what was Kyle's character's name again? It was Kyle Gallner, who was in Scream. He was in the original. He was in the original Smile because he was the cop, right?
Yeah, he's the cop, her ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
And
who witnesses her die.
Yeah, pretty unfortunately. I am trying to remember his name, but for some reason, Joel. His name's Joel. Joel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, they didn't give us any introductions at the being like, "Hi, I'm Joel," again at the beginning.
Yeah,
So I was
no,
like, it's been a couple years
2 years.
now since I've
Yeah.
seen Smile, so I don't remember his name.
And he is taking
Which is fine. It would have been weird if they gave us an introduction of his name. So like
kind of like a recap or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, just really we go, like you said, we're dealing with a whole different cast, a whole different storyline essentially, but we are picking up where that last film left off because as we know, this entity, um, kind of, which is so funny because even throughout this whole movie, even though we learn a little bit, we still kind of don't know anything. So we don't know if it's a spirit, a demon, a entity, a monster. Like, is it on
Yeah.
this plane or a different dimension? Is it even real? Is this just like gonna be in Smile 3? It's all with some psychological, like,
I think I think
government.
it is some sort of entity thing,
Mhm.
like a
Mhm.
spirit that's a curse. And
Mm,
I think
mhm.
it definitely toys with your mind, and kind of like how Marcus or whatever his name was, Morris, um,
The
the
dude,
yeah, the guy
the
who was gonna
promoter, whatever?
no, the guy who was
Oh,
gonna
Morris,
save
yes,
her.
yes.
Yeah. Um, how he was describing it later on. He was like, it's an entity, some sort of demonic, like I don't know what it is, but I think he was pretty spot on.
Yeah, and maybe that's the whole thing is, like, and that could be even scarier is that
You can't touch it.
nobody, yeah, and, like, nobody knows anything about it,
Yeah.
really, even at this point. But that does leave and puts this movie in one of those, in the same category as other films where it's like half of this film, and even like at this point, like I still question like what was real and what wasn't.
I
Who,
know, yeah, I was like, did
like,
her mom
and
really die?
or like were there certain
Spoiler
points
alert.
that were, I know, that were like, is there half realness and half fakes mixed in there, like, because
Yeah.
that was what it gives to me as well. Because even at the end, the entity could have still been playing tricks on her mind, and yeah, her mom could have still been dead and maybe not alive, or
Yeah,
maybe
and
she
just
was
she
never
saw her
dead.
mom out there because her mom did tell her to smile.
Yeah, and also too, like, it was a bit kind of jarring for us to go from that last scene where we're, her getting helped out by Morris, and then we end up, and she's facing herself essentially, like her inner demons, and then we end up on the stage, and it's just kind of like how much up to that point had been not real.
Even real. Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously she was with the people and like her people, and they got her there into that pot. Like, was she just like on autopilot and just like actually like, is this me blacked out when I'm drunk? And like, and
Yeah.
that's essentially what she was doing, and people
I
think,
think, yeah, she was dissociating. Did you know apparently it's dissociating and not disassociating?
no, I didn't. It's
I learned that on a
dissociating.
podcast that I was listening to the other day, and they had said that it's dissociating and not disassociating. And I was like, but I spell it disassociating. So now I'm like questioning if I spell it wrong. I wrote it in my notes and it didn't put a red line under it. So
Dissociates, but dissociate, but it, how do you say it? I'm sorry.
dissociating instead of disassociating. Disassociate, it's dissociate.
I was dissociate. I know, I honestly can't tell you how I say it now. Now I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
wait, how
don't
do I
know.
say it? But
She
yeah.
it was on My Favorite Murder, and they were like, one of them was
Well, it's
like,
like
"I've
that,
said it wrong my whole life," and I was like, "Well, shit, I say it
uh,
wrong too."
I saw a TikTok the other day. I'm sure you've seen it, or I don't know, but like those people who are, because of, I think you said this. You told me because it's hyaluronic.
Hyaluronic?
No, there's a yeah. It's
Hyaluronic?
hyaluronic acid, not hyaluronic. Yeah, I've
Oh,
been
I've
saying it
always
wrong.
said hyaluronic.
It's hyaluronic. Yeah. There,
Hyaluronic.
and if you look it up, there's a little "yeah" in there, yeah, like Ariana.
Yeah, like
But
Ariana,
but
yeah.
but you're not the only one, because everybody just says mostly it's like just hyaluronic acid, but it's
Yeah,
hyaluronic acid, yeah.
that's a
Mhm.
change I'm not gonna make. And I'm keeping that. We're not changing anything in 2025. I'm also probably gonna still say disassociating.
Yeah,
So,
hyaluronic.
because I don't know if it's even true. I just took blindly a word from a podcast, and I don't know if it's right.
It's okay. You're not the only one. But
Anyways, we're with
we'll
Kyle.
maybe we should start at the beginning because we're all the way
Joel.
at the end. Yeah, but we're with Joel, and he is trying to basically and essentially pass off this curse onto what he thinks is like these bad guys that he looked up because he's like a cop and so he has access to data and shit like that on records, and so he goes to this
Because
drug
in case you
dealer's house.
forgot,
Mm,
sorry, the way that you can get rid of this curse is by
mm,
either killing yourself in front of someone or killing someone else in front of someone.
someone else doing something really horrific essentially.
Yeah. So no
And
matter what, someone has to die. The
yeah,
spirit needs a life for
either
a life.
either your own or someone else's.
Yeah. And so he was going to kill these two
Oh,
brothers, one in front of the other.
and someone else has to witness, right? Because if you
Yeah.
were to
Yeah.
just kill someone and nobody were to witness, it
Yeah.
wouldn't pass off to anybody. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which is
So,
also twisted. Like that's just
yeah, you're
another
giving somebody psychological trauma
hmm
for, uh, well, for the next 7 days because they'll be
Well,
dead
yeah.
in 7 days.
Well, and the movie
Um,
itself too is very much like putting like an actual physical demon to trauma and PTSD.
yeah.
Because essentially that's what this movie is very, and like all of the scenes too when we're dealing with their car crash, those were a bit hard for me to watch.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Um, so this whole movie was just a bit hard to watch. It's very anxiety inducing. But
Mm,
yes, like you said, he's trying to kill one bad guy in front of another bad guy. So that way he kind of feels like, even though he's passing off this curse, he's giving it to people who he feels like actually deserve it, as opposed to like just some innocent person, poor human being like him or someone else, essentially who this curse has been getting passed to, which is
yeah.
probably also in itself like the entity itself probably craves like innocent beings, right? Probably
Yeah.
not people who see torturous stuff all the time. Like those men have murdered people anyways and have seen murder before, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
I think about
it's
it.
a fine line of playing God, essentially, whenever
Yeah,
you decide that
who you're gonna give it
someone's
to.
life is less than yours
Mhm.
because, I mean, because they were bad people.
Yeah.
But
But does that
it's
mean that they deserve that,
yeah,
essentially? Mhm.
exactly.
And who
And
are you to decide?
exactly. Yeah, because
Mhm.
it's not really his place, but I understand what he was going for. And I
Yeah.
think ultimately that it would be better than like passing it on to some, poor mom or something,
Mhm.
like who just was a random passerby
Yeah.
and then leaves her kids and stuff. Like, I don't know. It's a ethical conundrum.
Dilemma. Yeah, very
But
much so. Like, ask that on a test somewhere, like, for
yeah, it's
something
like the trolley
happening.
question.
Mhm.
Would
Oh,
you
yeah, like,
rather
would you save, like, 3 people or, like, 1 person you
versus
love or
one?
something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Girl, I'm letting them all die.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I feel like I don't know.
Uh,
If I
how
was in this
about
case, I don't know
kill
what I would do.
me and let them all live,
Yeah,
right?
that's what
Like,
I in the trolley situation, that's what I would do, I feel like. Um, but then
that's a lot, though.
in this situation, you killing yourself still fucks someone else.
Yeah. It's
So,
very much so, like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't,
yeah.
essentially. Um,
And we're going in, he gets out of the car, watches this car pull up. He gets out of the car, runs up to this guy who's got like some coffees in his hand, and he holds a gun to his back and is like forcing him at gunpoint to walk in. And the guy the whole time is like, "Watch the fucking jacket, man. It's new." And I'm like, "Sir, you got a gun to your back."
but in all
They're so
honesty, something
used
tells
to
me
crime
yeah,
and stuff, and
something
he probably thinks he's invincible, like, the moment his brother or I'm assuming it was his brother, I felt like they said brother
they were giving
at some point.
brothers. Yeah,
But, like, I'm
and if they
assuming
weren't,
that he thinks his brother will get
save
him safe
him.
to safety. Yeah.
Yeah. Or even so, like it's just kind of like, yeah, they do give he gives like he's not worried about it, like he'll be able to fight him off. But Joel does get in with him and they get to in front of his this other guy, this drug dealer, and it turns off into like basically a standoff of like Joel being like, "All right, well, you guys are scumbags, so basically I need you to just watch this. I have a gift for you. I have something for you." Um and but I need you to watch. And he
Yeah,
ends
he's
up
like,
just like
make sure you're watching.
stabbing the dude and like ripping him up and slicing his throat. And once again, this movie does what the first movie did. And I remember is I wasn't like necessarily like the blood always seems very fake.
Oh,
Like
really?
to me, it seems like a little like CG. It looks computer generated to me.
Oh.
Um,
See,
um,
you can always tell, and I can't. I just to me, I'm like, cool, that's blood.
what if I'm wrong? Watch it be like the most real practical blood ever, and like someone's
Yeah,
gonna
they
come in
that guy
behind me.
actually died. They
They
actually
murdered a
killed
real
him on
person.
camera,
Um,
and they just covered it up.
and the director is gonna be like, "We killed a real person just for you to shit on," you know. But
Now
no,
what?
I don't
Now
know.
we're
It's just
all infected by the curse too.
honestly, after watching that,
Mhm.
I just don't know what it is about it. It's something about it to me. I don't know why. Then, if it is real, or if they were using some type of practical effect, it just doesn't look real. But other than that, anyway, sorry. He ends up stabbing the dude, and obviously they're like, "What the fuck?" And so then the dude on the couch starts to try to shoot at Joel, but then Joel shoots at him,
Yeah,
and
it
I'm
must
just
have been a
thinking,
gut reaction.
yeah, out of
Like,
self-defense, like,
yeah,
and,
being like, "Oh shit,
he's
someone's
like,
shooting at me," and it's like instinctual where he
yeah,
shoots back. Because then after he shoots him, he's like, "Fuck,
because he
don't
shoots
die."
him fatally,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
doesn't, like, shoot him in the leg and stuff. Because of course, I mean, you have to be incredibly calm and collected to, like, shoot to know to maim instead of, like,
Oh, yeah.
I think it was
Yeah.
a instinctual, like, animalistic thing that was like, you shoot him to kill or you get killed,
Yeah,
and it overrode, like, his
his plan,
plan, yeah.
essentially, because he wounds him fatally, and unfortunately, that totally ruins his whole plan because he needed him to stay alive in order for the curse to transfer over.
Mhm.
But unbeknownst to him and to his surprise, there was a fourth body in the room, and it's Lewis, and he
Oh, it
is
was Lewis?
yeah, it was Lewis, yeah.
Okay.
He's
That was
yeah.
I was wondering if that was him once I went back, but, like, I didn't put their faces together
No, yeah,
whenever it
it was Lewis.
got to Lewis. Okay.
And so Lewis was just there just trying to score some drugs, I'm assuming, so that way he could sell to his client base. And then yeah, just wrong place, wrong time. But because it escalates so quickly, he's just kind of like there, and Joel's like, fuck, you weren't supposed to see that. Like shit, this wasn't meant for you. But they can't have a conversation about it because
Lots of
the
people are
other
showing up now.
yeah, the other members who live in this house or friends, I don't know, associates of these two guys show up, and then they see Joel with the gun because he's about to walk out the front door, and they're like, "Whoa!" And so they chase after him. And really cool. This whole opening scene is a one take. It's all one
Oh,
like
one shot? Yeah.
one shot. They didn't stop rolling the cameras, like all one shot. And we see a whole chase happening through the house, and then he's able to get outside. And once he's outside, he runs through the yard onto the street. And unfortunately, because he's being, in a hurry, he gets hit by a truck.
Yeah,
Uh,
gets hit, and he gets hit
hard.
hard.
Yeah. Like,
Man's
and we're
foot came off, and it was like
oh, and the truck crashed into like a pole as well.
yeah,
So
because they, like, swerved after I'm sure it was
getting a
instinctual
human.
again to
Yeah.
swerve, like, but they swerved too late, and it still hit him.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah,
So
so
unfortunately, even though he did essentially transfer that curse over, um, is dead. And honestly, that's kind of a like it's a waste. It's kind of like, well, shit. Like he should have just died and kept the curse with him.
Yeah,
But
I think it's a maybe you can't ever escape situation. Like, I
mhm.
almost like Final Destination, like, something's gonna catch up to you in the end.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, once you catch it, like, it's just I'm sorry, like, there's no
Yeah.
saving it. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna die. It gives, yeah, no, I see what you mean. Um, that sucks, but
I mean, I
yeah,
know there were other people who did escape by killing someone else,
that was
but,
just
like, I'm
the one
wondering
dude,
if
right?
maybe if he eventually still dies and, like,
Right,
we just don't know about it
due to
or
something else.
something.
Mhm.
Suki, it is not time. She's here per usual, like clockwork.
Oh, it's like Final Destination 2, like, even in Final Destination 2. Oh my god, why did I repeat what I said? But there were TOOO and TWO. Um, how Alex was killed off in the second one, but off camera, and we're just
Yeah,
learned from, like, the newspapers that death did eventually catch up with him.
yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, it's really unfortunate for Joel because he's dead, his whole body's on the screen, but thankfully for us, his blood gives us a title card,
Yep, it makes a
and
little smile,
we are
but then they
introduced.
flip it upside down. I
Yeah,
guess I'm sure there must be some sort of like
artistic reason.
yes, and I just it's
I th
beyond me. I
is
just
it
am
because
not picking up on it.
maybe is it more simple? Like, is it just the simple fact that, like, a lot of times during this movie, it likes to flip the script on us. It likes to make us think that something's happening when it's not. Like,
Yeah,
essentially, I think maybe
yeah.
that's kind of more or less it's going with that lines. But also, this movie is coming. A lot of movies here recently. It's a trend. Candyman. And I know there was like two or three other ones that I've seen recently where it wasn't maybe used as heavily, but like I feel like it's a trend now to do like a
Flippity flu.
flippity flop shot and especially of like cityscape. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like very what was that movie that came out? Fucking Christopher Nolan? Is it Nolan? Um DiCaprio? Leonardo? The little
Mm.
thing, the spinny thing?
Oh,
Not Shutter
fucking
Island, but the other one. And it's like
the
all the minds. It's all about
Inception.
Inception. It gives like that. It gives very much that.
Oh, it's
Um
like, "Oh, a dream within a dream."
Like I like the whole movie. I can see it flashing behind before my eyes, and I can't. Or it's the title. We threw out the name. We threw out the name. But oh, and yes, we're upside down, and then we also are starting the movie with this really nice zoomed in shot to it. Is it zoomed in or zoomed out? Wait, the fuck? It's zoomed in. Is it not? And then it zooms out because we're on TV. We're on the Drew Barrymore show.
Barrymore show. Yeah, which I thought was fitting with, like,
Horror.
horror, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do wanna note that I did so my big issue, for those of you who don't remember with Smile 1, was the soundtrack
Mm-hmm.
and how it was leading you to things that weren't there, and just which would be fine in some instances, but it was almost just it didn't make any sense. And so, like, there were times where it just was very ill placed, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And the soundtrack already, I liked this one a lot better. And it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't trying to take like the ending song of the lollipop, lollipop, like at the end
Yeah.
of Smile One,
Yeah.
it wasn't trying to make a kind of like tiptoe do do lips within
To try to make, like,
Insidious.
a innocent kitty song sound sinister,
Yeah,
almost.
they
Yeah,
didn't try to do that. It had its own, like, original soundtrack and then, different, pop songs still in it, which I thought was
yeah.
fine, but they were all supposed to be, like, original pop songs by Skye.
Skye Riley, yeah, which they
Yeah,
were, and they could also fit the movie, like, Blood on White Satin, there's another song too, they're all very melodically darker toned,
yeah,
like, I'm sure they're even made in, like, a minor key scale because they want it to sound more, like, creepy and, like, like dark pop because the
yeah,
movie is a horror film themed horror horror movie and yeah the music is really good through the film because I feel like a lot of times Whereas maybe that's what they were attempting to do in the first one, and maybe they just didn't nail it. Um, like this one, the music and like especially like and it's from the first movie too, but that like I don't know, it sounds like a bunch of like violins that are just mistuned and they're all just like
Yeah.
at the same time. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know
very
what it is.
dissonant.
Yeah, and that comes into play a lot, and it's almost kind of like the 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you, or like what you would hear for
He's
it's yeah, it's very
knocking
much kind of like
at the
the
door.
theme song for the Smile entity. Like once you start hearing that, you're like, oh shit, it's about to get real up in here, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and so we have our main protagonist, Skye Riley. She's on the Drew Barrymore show, and essentially they're just kind of talking about how she's changed her life around. She had, you know, a really big accident. Her ex-boyfriend passed away in this car accident that she was in. So, and she's coming back from like a really public struggle with substance abuse and alcoholism.
Yeah, she's apologizing for all that, and then she says, like, "I'm relearning how to do life sober," and that
Hmm.
she's so grateful for a second chance.
Yeah,
Um,
which is very
and
relatable for a lot of people.
yeah, and
Mhm.
so and she of course, the timing of this is "Oh, hi, Goopy."
Aw,
"What's
so
up,
cute.
baby? Yeah, you're a little girl.
Aw,
You go down, Suki."
she sounds so sweet. The timing is really piss poor because she's
Yeah.
literally trying to change her whole life around and come back. It's her comeback tour essentially. And yeah, life just isn't as beautiful for the rich and famous as we would think it would be.
Yeah.
Um, because she's got her own inner demons that she's facing.
Yeah,
Mm.
and, so
We come off the show and she's with her mom and the Josh, the assistant.
oh, his name was Josh?
Yeah, his name is Josh.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was Michael for some reason.
No, it's Josh.
Oh, um, but I just my next note is, "Uh-oh, pulls her back." And and then oh, she was dancing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she was dancing with
Her
all of her
dancer.
crew,
Mhm.
and she throws out her back, and then then I was like, "Oh, that must be from the accident," once I saw the scar,
Mhm.
and then,
Yeah, she's dealing with a lot of residual like body trauma from her accident and her surgery that she had
yeah, because it
after.
was
And
bad. We find
oh
out
yeah.
later that her, like, leg bone popped through her leg. That was very graphic, seeing that all the time. That made me kind of
Yeah.
but, yeah, and then she's, like, with her pills in the bathroom, and I was like, "Uh-oh, is she gonna do some drugs?" But, it was just Vicodin for pain,
Yeah.
which is still heavily addictive, so, like
She has to be careful with that,
yeah.
and she's not being prescribed anything for her pain, and so it's like a really horrible situation to be in, honestly, because and also too because you brought it onto yourself, because she has genuine pain, like it's a genuine pain that's debilitating her, but
Yeah.
the doctors won't give her medicine, and she can't necessarily trust herself with it because she does have that past addiction and dependency on them.
Yeah.
And so it sucks because you just have to like find other remedies and just kind of like grit your teeth and suck it up. But she's also we get this moment to have this alone moment with her, and she's looking in the mirror and she's like really looking at her scars. You can tell she's um like
Self-conscious.
self-conscious, like, they make her feel they probably remind her of, like, one, like, the accident, her past, like, it just
Yeah.
carries so much baggage with it,
Yeah.
and she's not happy to have to look at them all the time, and
And
so,
later on, she says, like, when the scar is showing through the costume, she's like, "We don't have to remind everyone of how disgusting I am," or
yeah,
something like that. She uses the word disgusting to describe herself, and I was like, "Oh, that's
yeah.
sad."
Oh, it's so sad too because later on, like, you know, it's funny because at one point the we keep getting ahead of ourselves, but the entity is like, I've been waiting for someone like you. And I don't even think that it necessarily means like one, yeah, half of it is that like someone with such public, whoosh, so that way like the whole whatever world can see her. But and so it has like that opportunity to infect so many people. But I think even too, just like someone so broken because she is just like in the end, she's like everyone that I love, like I either hurt or I destroy or I
Yeah.
destroy everything I touch. Like, and that is like probably jackpot to something like this because it's like you're like clay,
Yeah. Very
basically.
moldable.
And so she's with her meds, like you said, and she's like, "Am I gonna take them? Am I not?" And she ends up dropping them in the sink because her mom knocks on the door, freaks
Yep.
her out, and so unfortunately, yeah, not not the best place to be because she's lost her, even if she wasn't taking them, and coming from a place of like, yeah, like it was just like almost like her safety blanket to even just have them. And even
Yeah.
if she wasn't using them, and now that they're like down the sink, she's just like probably going into like a spiral.
Yeah.
And her mom is coming to check on her and is like, "Hey, like it's time to go home. Like we need to, get you some sleep for the next for." Yeah, and is obviously also like, "Hey, are you okay?" Like the whole movie too. Everybody's got an air around her of like, "We're suspicious of you. Like are you using
Yeah.
again? Are you?" Because that's kind of the baseline of what addicts go through. But everybody's like on edge around her, and I'm so and now when I think about it, that's got to be so like everybody's on edge around you, and then she's on edge because of the other thing that she can't tell anybody that's going on. So
Yeah.
it's just
Because then she'll sound crazy.
exactly. And so she's texting Lewis on her way home, the dude from the beginning on her phone because she wants to score some drugs.
Yep,
Mhm.
she's going to get more drugs.
Yeah.
And then so she goes the her mom and Josh drop her off and they like she goes walks into the revolving door, walks right back out of it after the car pulls away and hails a cab and then gets in and goes to Lewis's place and it's evident the moment he answers the door that he's got it.
Oh yeah, he's not okay because
'Cause
he's
he
like,
just, like, holds a katana to her fucking throat, and I was
mhm.
like, "Oh my god," and he
Yeah,
plays a phenomenal crazy person.
he does. He
He
really
did a
does.
really great job.
He really
Um,
makes you believe that he has been like, well, that he's on something, if anything. If he's not crazy, like and especially because he's a drug dealer, she's probably thinking like, "Man, this dude is going
he's,
through
like,
some crazy
tripping
ass trip."
yeah,
Mhm.
tripping real bad, and, and
She's like
then
he snaps out of it essentially for like for a little bit, and then she's like, "What the fuck, bro?" And he's like, doesn't remember texting her to come over, doesn't remember the sword, and essentially explains to her that something really weird has been happening to him all week. But then he tries to act normal because he's like, "Oh my god, Skye Riley is in my home. Like, all right, what do you want? What can I get you?" And she's just looking for the Vicodin, and so he goes to get that for her.
and he does
Um,
coke too in the
oh yeah,
process,
yeah,
and I was like, "Coke must not help this at all, this situation
no,
at
yeah,
all." Like, doing uppers and then, like, having your whole existence be flipped upside down.
yeah,
Um,
and you're not
to have
taking.
yeah, I was just like, that
Mhm.
must be making his experience so much worse.
He was quite literally having the worst trip of his life, like all week, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, and he tells her to wait in the living room, so he can go get the Vicodin. And we're waiting for essentially what feels like an eternity, to be honest.
Yeah, it did
Um,
feel like a very long time, and I
especially the
thought
first time you watch the movie,
yeah,
because
yeah,
you're just like,
because
"What the fuck is taking him so long?"
yeah, and this was the first time I watched this movie today, so
Oh, okay. I could have
yeah.
sworn you had already seen it.
Nope, hadn't
Okay, my
seen it.
bad. Okay.
And so yeah, it felt like a really long time and I was like he's either going to be right on the brink of like being dead whenever she walks in there
Uh-huh.
or something and then he comes out at the last second and he's freaking out again. He's like,
Yeah.
"What the hell are you doing here?" Like,
Like,
"No."
they
And
didn't
then
just have an interaction.
yeah, like he completely
Mhm.
forgot. And then she's like, "What the fuck is going on?" Because then he starts looking at this entity above her that she can't see.
Mhm.
But and he starts like
He's like,
choking.
"No, no, please don't. Ah!"
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
then
then he you
mhm, mhm. Yeah, he just kinda starts smiling real crazily at her, and she's obviously because she's like, "Oh my" she thinks poor girl, because she thinks like, "Oh my god, he's ODing, like, right in front of me, like, what do I do?" Like, and then he just, like, starts smiling at her, and then, like, she plays a really good, shout out to Naomi Scott because she was really convincing to me and like her like concerned and then like terrified and then just like I don't know what to do right now.
yeah.
Like yeah,
Yeah,
just kind of
she
shocked
really captured what I feel like the emotion would be if you were legitimately
witnessing.
witnessing this.
Yeah, because he gets up, kind of starts walking towards her and picks up a weight and he just starts to and I want you should I don't know how did you feel about this?
I gagged.
Yeah, he
I
starts bashing his
literally
head.
like I of course it's y'all know my least favorite thing is when heads get smashed and the
So that's why
squelching
we
to
decided to
the
start
like
the year off with it.
yeah, and just go big or go home. But
You
the
can't
squelching
escape
that
it.
came along with it, it
You
was
can't
just
escape
like
it.
yeah, just like the curse, I can't escape faces getting smashed in.
Yeah,
And,
because even if you, turn away or look away, you can hear it
you're
happening.
hearing it.
It's very
The
descriptive
squelching was
audio.
so loud.
Yeah.
It was like I couldn't imagine seeing it in theaters with, like, surround sound happening. Bleh. No.
Remember I
It
told you
mainly
whenever
I gagged whenever his cheek, like, fell
starts going
away.
off?
I
Yeah.
was like I literally was like, "Bleh." It's
Yeah.
making me gag almost just thinking about it.
It's very, very jarring, and for even, like for stuff like for horror movies, even we're used to seeing some is really like gnarly stuff. Like it's very graphic, and it's just like especially because he's smiling the whole time he's doing it, right? And so it's
Yeah,
just very
and you can,
menacing.
like, see his teeth and stuff still in the smile, like, in the, like,
Mm-hmm.
sinews or
Pose
whatever, like,
on the
just of
muscles.
his mouth, like, still in that smile position,
Yeah.
and, it was nasty. It was a one hell of a way to, like, start the movie. Um,
And so he's dead. He falls to the floor, and she kind of backs up. She
throws
freaks
up.
out, throws up, rightfully so. Thinks about calling 911, but then realizes, like any other person probably would, like, "Holy shit, there's a bunch of drugs here and a dead person, and I'm a public figure, and, like, this is gonna look really, really bad.
Yeah,
So, I need to get out of here." And so
and I
she
really liked this cool pan-in shot on her face that
Mhm.
happened. It was really I liked it a lot.
This movie actually I wrote it down, this movie has and I don't know if they were, like it has to be, that had to be, um it has a lot of cool transitions, a
Mhm.
lot of them to me, and I feel like if anything, they were like they came up with the transitions first and then thought of the rest of the movie
Yeah. They're like,
because
"We
they're
gotta
just
make this happen, so this and
it
this and
literally
this have to happen."
because the transitions are so, like, well thought to me and very, like, well structured and placed,
And
and
seamless.
they never seemed like, they like, it's giving, like, artsy horror film, like, at some
Mhm.
points to me, like, it's and even though because, like, the content is not like it's, like, an artsy film or anything, it's basically just this entity and then it kills itself and gross and whatever psychological but I really enjoy the way that they like crafted the film because it and also like the like you were talking about the music and everything and how the movie feels bigger than what it is if that makes sense to me like because it's such a like universe they put you in where it's like they give you her actual music, we get her backstory, we get like I don't know but Anyway, sorry. We're dropping back in because all that happens, and then she ends up waking up at her apartment, or she's just back at her
Yeah.
apartment. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
because she's like we get the upside down shots again of that
yeah.
cityscape, and then it, like,
Mhm.
zooms in on her window,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
she gets in there and she just drinks the hella water.
yeah, and then she's oh my god, the product placement for Voss water was,
Yeah.
like, insane in this
Oh yeah.
movie. I was like, "How much money did they have to pay to have this be?" I mean, of course, they are one of, like, the few glass water bottles that I know of that
Mhm.
seem, like, minimalistic and rich, like, bougie kinda water. So,
What's the
like
movie that we watched where it's like, even though the lady was in a bathtub or the dude was in a bathtub of water, they found him and he was like dehydrated?
Oculus.
Ah, okay, yeah. It's giving that. Like, was she ever
Yeah,
actually even drinking water?
yeah, true. 'Cause, yeah, I mean
Didn't the doctor at one point or someone say she's dehydrated? Yeah, they do
mhm,
say that, and
whenever
she's
she
like,
wakes up in the wellness hospital,
"That's right, yeah, yeah, yeah,"
she's dehydrated.
and she's like, "I've been drinking a fuck ton of water."
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was like, "How is this possible?" But yeah, so she's, like, going through life, like, brushing her hair. We already have seen a little bit, like, we got a flash earlier when she was describing when Drew Barrymore asked, like, "What was it like for you?" She, like, ripped out a chunk of her hair, and it was just a little flash of that, and then so we already see this, like, she's brushing her hair and the hairbrush snags, and
Yeah,
she kind of, like, yanks it out
it's a bit of her
really
hair.
aggressively, and we'll see later that that's kind of her coping mechanism is, like, ripping out her hair. Um, but,
Yeah, it's called, trichotillomania, right?
something like that.
Trichotillomania. Yeah. Mhm, that's from
But then
Opal.
she's laying in bed and she can't sleep, and then you hear the squelching again,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
then
Then
she's
she,
like
like, kind of, like, freaks out, and she looks over.
she scans the room, and then in the last area her eyes fall, he's there.
Yeah.
And
Which is very terrifying, and then she turns
yeah,
the lights on immediately, and he's gone.
yeah,
So mhm.
and then
Uh,
she poor girl doesn't sleep,
no, and it's the
and
next day.
then she's, like, at rehearsal or whatever,
Mhm.
Darius, the record label man, comes up and he's like, "Hey, all you gotta do is like, we have this thing that we want you to do,
It's
for,
like a
like, a
charity
children's
dinner.
charity." Yeah, and for underprivileged youths, and he says, "All you gotta do is smile and read
Mhm.
from the teleprompter." So, it's gonna be super easy, like oh,
1,
she's
2,
at a
3.
photo shoot, that's right.
Yeah.
And he comes in while she's getting ready for the photo shoot.
Mhm.
Um,
And
but
the
yeah,
mom is talking to her about Gemma as well, so we get a first little mention of Gemma at this point because she's like, "You should call your friend Gemma," and we get it that, like, okay, there was some falling out between the 2. Um, and then Darius comes in, talks to her about all that crap. And then we get the photo shoot. Photo shoot's really cool. I like how the movie, like, at certain aspects when we're doing, like, the stage stuff and the photo shoot, like, it's very, like, it gives music video.
yeah,
Yeah. And so, they're, she gets through the photo shoot. After that, she's Googling, which is what I would do if this happened, because this was my first thought whenever she threw up at the place. She's Googling if there is DNA in her vomit because she threw up at Lewis's apartment. And so she's just trying to, she's freaking out because she's thinking something can get traced to her and her being there. And then that's whenever she's also thinking about texting Gemma, and she pulls up the text chain, and, like, the last text messages she sent her were like, "Eat shit and you suck."
yeah. And I was like, girl, do not. She started typing out those messages, and I was like, do not text her after that. Like,
Literally.
call her.
Yeah, she's literally about to be like, "Hey, what's up? How you
Yeah,
been?"
I was like, oh my God. And
Um,
then while she's looking at her phone, she gets a message about Lewis
yes, an unknown
from
number
an
text her.
unknown sender. Yeah. And she's like, it is someone asking, "Were you at Louis blah blah blah's apartment last night?"
Frigoli.
And yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna try to say his last name. Um, and
It freaks her out, rightfully
yeah,
so.
she freaks out, and then she's standing in front of the mirror while doing all of this
Mhm.
and texting and Googling and stuff. And then she looks up because she hears a noise, right?
The squelch. Mhm.
Yeah, squelch. And then she looks like behind her, there's nothing there. But when she looks back in the mirror,
There is Lewis right behind her, and
yeah,
he's, like, placed so well that, like, as she's moving and stuff, like, he's moving with her, and as she turns around, he's not behind her, and
yeah.
then when she looks back around, we get this jump scare essentially of, like, him pulling her face into a smile position.
Hmm.
And so then, yeah, she freaks out. She's screaming. And then her mom and her assistant come in and they're like, "Why weren't you opening the door?" And we were knocking, and because she's like, "Why don't y'all knock?" And she's like, we did. You weren't responding, and why are you screaming?" And basically, she just plays it off and she tries to show them, like, "Hey, like, I don't want to wear this outfit because you can see my scar through it." We get the whole bit about how she thinks it's disgusting. It's honestly a really cool outfit. It's like a butterfly leotard onesie pop star outfit, but she
Yeah.
doesn't want to wear it. It's understandable. And
And I was
so,
like, just put on a bodysuit,
right? Or
like
something
below
like,
it that will hide the scar.
yeah.
But
But I think it's just another moment where it's kind of
she
there to
needs
show
to
us.
be like a little butterfly, like a little chrysalis, so she can shed her skin later.
She does, but also we're getting kind of this this dep- the relationship between her and her mom, where it's giving total, like, stage mom and toddlers and tiaras bit, because her mom's not listening to her at all. Her mom's constantly, like, making it seem like she's making things into bigger deals than they are. She's not listening to her and what she really needs.
Yeah, no one
Because
really listens to her throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, which is making matters even worse.
Mhm.
Um,
Which is
and
very much what happened in the first one as
mhm,
well. Like,
you're right.
homegirl did try to tell her fiance about what was happening, and then he just ultimately, like, "Nope, don't believe you, you crazy
Mhm.
bitch." And
Yeah,
that still blows my mind to this day, his reaction. I was like, "Oh my god. You're supposed to be my lifelong partner." Like, they were engaged, right?
they were, I believe so.
And he just, turns on her so fast, and I
But
don't
could that
know,
also
like,
have been, was that real?
that's true. Yeah, we
Could
don't
that
know.
have just been in her mind?
That is
Um,
true.
because we even see, like, how whenever Gemma tells her here in a bit, like, I don't remember, like, "You're the worst person ever," or whatever, and then her
You're
mom is like,
horrible.
yeah, and then, like, when her mom's like, "I have to say goodbye to you."
Yeah.
Uh, but, yeah, she ends up, uh, she's rehearsing for the big show, um, a little bit after this, I think a bit more, and then we get a
The meet and greet.
transition and the meet and greet, yes, and she is with, fans. It's the whole, like, she's signing autographs, she's telling them, like, "Oh my god, they're so cool. Oh my god, you're so pretty." Um, we get a few little normal interactions, and then this, like, dude comes up and he has this yellow sweatshirt for her to sign, which she does. And he's not
He's like,
giving,
"Make it out to Alfredo and then put love Sky on it."
yeah, he's being totally where's my hug vibes.
Yeah, he
And
was
then,
gross.
and then, and we're not just saying that to be mean, because
No.
they did give him,
Like,
like,
his whole
the,
demeanor was gross.
like, creeper. And
Yeah.
they tried to give him kind of like this physical appearance of, like the nerdy guy, like the weird guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the and so someone who
Like, what's
definitely
it
kind of gives
called when
stalker
they
vibes.
live in their parents' basements?
Oh, like an incel?
Incel, yeah.
Yes. Like, guys who hate women, but always, like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyways,
Mhm.
but, like, want a woman. Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
and so he basically is just a crazy fan. I don't even think he's given anything to do with whatever's happening with her whole smile shit. the whole entity. He's just giving crazy stalker fan vibes.
Yeah.
And because he's like all on her, and then he's like, I can make you happy. I can see that you're sad inside. Like I'll love you. And she calls security. They get him
And he's
off.
like, "Your skin is so
It's so
good."
clear. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very weird. And so then she just takes a minute, she takes a beat, she comes back. They're all like, "Are you good? Are you okay?" And she is gonna, just push through it. And she ends up coming back out, and there's this little girl with red hair, and she's got pigtails.
I just wrote
And
"ew." She was
huh?
gr I wrote "ew."
Ew.
L
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
did
yeah.
not like this little girl with the creepy smile at all.
No, she played it very well. 'Cause she was just like did not
It was
break
a
her
menacing smile.
yeah, and also did not blink. She
Yeah,
didn't blink. Like, that little
the
actress
whole
did not
time.
blink. I don't know if that was digitally altered, but for 3 minutes or 4 minutes, she didn't blink. And then, she ended up, she ends up, siding her shirt. She's not being responsive to Skye, and Skye's like, "Okay, let's just take a picture." And they take a picture, but this little girl is just looking at her the entire time, just smiling.
And then she
And
walks off holding hands with, I'm guessing,
some
her parent,
parent, yeah.
and she's
It's
just looking back at her, smiling the whole time. And I wrote, like, "That was pretty good." I liked that.
yeah,
That was creepy.
it's good, and it's also, like, not it wasn't over the top, it wasn't like a lot of things happen. Skye didn't even have to, like, make a big scene out of it, essentially. It was just one of those small, eerie little creep factors that is just kinda like it's really adding to her, um, her craziness, her spiral, because it's just like it's not allowing her any normal moment in her entire life.
Yeah.
Essentially, even this what should be a happy, like, meeting her fans, meet and
Yeah.
greet, is being played by this stupid ass spirit. And so, um, she ends up, looking more at her unknown text, I believe, because she gets another one from Morris, or she's texting back, I'm not sure, but she ends up pulling her hair out more
Yeah, she
and
rips
freaking
out a
out.
nice little chunk of her hair, and then she calls Gemma.
Yeah,
And I was like, "Good, she called her and didn't text her." And Gemma doesn't answer at first, so she leaves her a voicemail saying, like, "Girl, I'm
very
so
important.
sorry. Yeah, like, please, you know, forgive me. I miss you," kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And then she receives a phone call from Gemma right afterwards.
Kind of
Um,
immediately. Mhm.
and yeah, and Gemma is coming over.
Yeah. So Jenna's gonna come over. Sky decides that she wants to play a little piano and try to like take the edge off. But unfortunately, she ends up hearing a glass break, which is like we've been seeing her carry these glass
The
Voss
Voss
bottle
water
waters the whole
bottles,
movie. So we're like, okay, well, her glass bottle water, whatever, broke. And so
much like the wine glass from the first one.
oh, yeah, and she goes to get a broom to try to clean it up, but when she comes back out of, like, the closet or whatever, she notices that the yellow sweatshirt from earlier from the dude is on the floor, and then we start to notice that a bunch of other articles of clothing are on the floor.
Like his shoe, because he lost his shoe when he was getting, like, pulled
Escorted out.
off too.
Yeah,
So, like, you could tell immediately. I mean, obviously, it was apparent from the shirt that, like, it was him, but,
yeah,
like, you kind of they made a point of, like, losing his shoe earlier. So, like, the first article other than the shirt you see is the
the
shoe,
shoe. Mhm.
and then you start seeing, like, his shirt, and then his, like, shorts, and then his shit-stained underwear.
Gross, yeah.
Yeah, and, then you see him naked standing at the end of the hallway. He flips the light switch off. Kinda
Mhm.
reminded me of Lights Out, like the original sketch, and then
Mhm.
he just charges her.
Very, very frightening because he's charging at her all naked, and she's running to the front door, and as soon as and you can hear the footsteps charging after her.
Yeah.
And as soon excuse me, as soon as she makes it to the front door and she's about to, like, run out, Gemma's there, and Gemma's like, "Whoa, what the heck?" And she's like, "Is someone else in here with you?" And 'cause, Skye is grabbing a little sculpture, she's a little vase, she's about to, like, try to protect herself, but when she goes back to look at the hallway and look at, behind her, his clothes are all gone. the
The
bottled
water
water
bottle's never
is
broken.
never broken, and she's just kind of like, what the actual fuck? So she's super frustrated, rightfully so. And Gemma's like, what's happening? So
I love how
basically,
Gemma the whole time I was like while I was
Gemma's too
watching the
chill.
movie, no, I was
Oh,
thinking Gemma's a fucking real one.
oh yeah,
Like
same.
I was gonna come on here and say if I learned anything from this movie, Gemma is like a fucking like she says, ride or die, bitch.
Yeah,
And then of course it gets
ruined.
yeah, but I was like, even here, Gemma just like immediately grabs something with her, doesn't like
Hmm.
question her, and is like, okay, bitch, I don't know what's going on, but I'm ready to smack someone too.
Yeah,
Like, I like Gemma.
I did too. So
It
it
really
was
sucks
doubly
when,
breaking
yeah,
when you find out that Gemma isn't really Gemma.
yeah,
But she ends up telling Gemma, excuse me, everything. Essentially, just like what happened with Louis Frigoli at his house, yada yada yada,
and she just
and
automatically listens to her and is like, that's
believes
fucking weird.
her. Isn't
Okay,
like you're crazy. Yeah, all the things that make us want to love Gemma. And
yeah,
so,
and I loved the line when she was like, whenever Skye was like, I just missed you so much. And she was like, okay, before we start sucking each other's dicks, like,
yeah,
I,
I need to
she
know.
was
Yeah,
very deadpan and I liked
hmm,
her.
I can see that. I could feel like that would be your friend in real life.
Yeah. Cause then she
Mhm.
immediately was like, after she describes Lewis's death to her and stuff, she's like, you want me to spend the night? And
Mhm.
she's like, oh my God, would you? And
Mhm.
she's like, yes. So then they're
She spends
going
the
to
night.
bed.
Mhm. They're in
Yeah.
the bed, and unfortunately, Skye starts to have a nightmare about her car accident,
Yes,
just kinda
and
reliving.
he is dead, dead.
Oh, he was dead. He was
Yeah,
gone. He was half his brains were
little
out.
head was, yeah, cut off.
Yeah, and so, she unfortunately has to relive that in her sleep, and that's not fun for her, and I'm sure it's getting induced even more by like this demon that's terrorizing her. But she's laying in bed feeling like shit, and she starts to talk to Gemma, and she's just like, hey, like I'm really sorry and thank you for like coming back.
I knew
Or
immediately as Gemma rolled over, I was like, "She gonna be smiling at her."
yeah,
And then I
which she
thought I was
does.
wrong for a second because I was
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
I wrote it out, like, as soon as she rolled over,
Oh, and
and
then she's
then
like, hey, are you okay?
they, like, talk for a little bit, and I was like, "Oh,"
Yeah.
started deleting the note, and then she was like, "You're a horrible person."
Mm-hmm.
Ding.
Ding.
And so then I was like, "Oh,
There
yep."
we go. And so, yeah, Gemma, it's is not Gemma, but then she's still Gemma because after she's telling her this and she's smiling at her and she's like, "You're a horrible person." Sky jumps out of bed and then like it's not nighttime anymore and it's daytime now. And Gemma's like, "Oh my god, okay, good, you're awake. Like I made us matcha." And it's the next morning. What we are led to believe is that it was all like a bad dream that she was having, and then Sky is freaking
Oh,
out
I
because she's
didn't like
late.
the, like, car horn, like, from her
Through her
face.
face? Yeah, I thought that
Yeah,
was,
I thought
like,
that was a little
cheesy.
cheesy. I was
Yeah.
like,
It also looks
not
super,
my
like
favorite."
it looks super Goosebumps.
Yeah.
It looks super Goosebumps. It looked kiddish. There's also one other part, the part where the other Skye Riley is in front of her, and it happened in the first movie too. I'm not necessarily a fan of the bulging eyes out
Oh,
version
really?
where it looks cartoonish, like with the
Yeah,
little like I don't
lines.
know lines in the
I
person's
kinda
eyes.
liked it.
You did. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not as scary to me. It just kind of it same kind of vibes of that. It just looked hokey pokey to me. Like I don't
Mm.
know. But yeah, Gemma's up. She's like, "Hey, glad you're up. Made you coffee, matcha." But Sky doesn't have time for that because she's late. And her mom shows up, and she's like, "What the
What
fuck?
the
Are you
fuck?
are you serious right now?" And she's like, I know." And she starts to get ready. But here's one note where I noticed like being my third time watching it. Gemma says hi to the mom, but
Yeah,
there's no hi back to Gemma.
yeah.
There's no
Yeah, I just
acknowledgement.
thought it was like I did notice that too. And I just
Mhm.
thought it was like an awkward, like,
Because
we're
they haven't
gonna
seen each
switch the
other.
scene, like,
Yeah.
we're just switching scenes now. And like they didn't really like they give her time to respond. But yeah. But yes, I
Mhm.
see what you mean.
Mhm. And so then we're at getting to work. Obviously, she's apologizing profusely to everybody about how she's late. And we go to work. Ja let's see. She's doing her stuff. She's trying to get ready. Is this where they're like she's doing her
They're
little
doing a
dancey
pop
thing?
show scene
Yeah.
and something they're dancing and it's like
She
going
thinks she flicks her
well,
leg.
like yeah, and somebody pops up in front of her smiling
Mhm.
and she falls back and her leg, just like it did in the crash, her bone is sticking through her leg.
Mhm.
And I was like, "Oh my god." I was like, "Her bone wasn't strong enough and it popped through again?" Um,
Dude, it's giving The Substance, remember?
yeah,
When she's doing her dance rehearsal and then, like, her, like, butt bone, like
but pops out, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but
Um,
yeah, and then she is like freaking out about her leg, and then finally everyone's like, "Whoa,
"Are
whoa,
you
whoa."
okay?"
And she
Nothing's wrong.
nothing's wrong. Yeah, she just fell over and was screaming uncontrollably, and everyone she, like, starts losing her mind on the
Yeah.
dance team and is like, "One of you popped up in front of me, and you made me fall, and this is all y'all's fault." And then
Mhm.
the dance guy comes up, and he's like, "There was nobody out of place. Like,
It's like, "I've been
I
watching
from
the
what
whole
I
time."
saw, yeah,
Mhm.
nobody missed their mark." Um, and then she storms out and she's walking to her dressing room and sees homeboy smiling at her, leaving
Yeah.
from her dressing room.
He's walking all
Um,
fast, like
and he like smiles at her and like
Mhm.
looks at her as she walks by.
And he's
Um,
walking like a mall walker would be
yeah,
walking, like those grannies, like, super fast.
getting his
And
steps in.
she goes to her dressing room, and when she turns around to look in her dressing room, it's just been completely trashed.
It is absolutely destroyed. And she is like sitting there like, what the fuck? And then her mom walks
Mhm.
up and she's like, automatically, what did you do?
Oh, yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's like, bitch, I just got here too. Like, you saw me just storm off stage.
Yeah.
Like,
And her
what?
mom's already accusing her, and she's just like, "The fuck, I didn't do this," and she walks out of the room, and she sees Josh coming up, and she's like, "You fucking did this. Like, fuck you," like, just going off on him, and, not looking too good for Skye because she's, 1, looking combative, but she's also just kind of being a little crazy.
Yeah. And her
And
mom,
the room looks like she trashed it. So
yeah. And her
mhm,
mom is like, are you using again? And
mhm,
automatically accuses her yet again. And she's
yeah.
like, what? No. Like,
And,
please
oh,
just listen to me.
and how we saw Josh come out of there, right? We saw him in the room
Hmm.
trash, but then her mom's like, "He couldn't have done that because he's been with me
The whole
all
time.
day."
Yeah.
And then he's, like, profusely, like,
I
denying
didn't
it.
do
He's like,
that.
"I would never do anything to hurt you. I'm here to help you. Like, I would never do that, Skye."
Yeah.
And so it's all just a big kerfuffle. And
She's saying she isn't ready for the tour and that,
she doesn't
like,
wanna do the charity thing.
because she's mentally not here. She's not in the right headspace. And she
Yeah,
openly admits this. And
yeah,
that her mom's like, you have to do that. You're a woman of your word, kind of thing. Like,
mhm,
you have to do this. And I wrote down immediately, that's going to be a train wreck.
yeah.
And it sure enough, it was. We
Sure
get
enough, it was
another upside down shot that leads us to
mhm,
the charity event.
charity ball. And so we are here, and she is looking rather spectacular. She gets up
Yeah,
on
the
stage.
dress was super dope,
Oh,
but
yeah.
there was a fly going around her and the fly, like, lands on her face, so she, like, smears her lipstick. So
Mhm.
already she's looking disheveled.
Yeah, getting up there. Poor
from
thing.
like what she was looking like. And no one thought to be like,
Yeah,
"Oh, honey, your lipstick." Like,
the girls who are leading her up there and everything, the prisoner, the
yeah,
lady, old lady.
then reminded me of The Substance whenever Monstressa
Mm.
Ellis
Monstero,
Montero
Eliza,
Ellis
Sue.
Ellisu
Yeah,
was walking
getting
up
to the
and
stage.
everyone was like, "Here you
She's like,
go." Like, it
yeah,
reminded me of
uh-huh.
that. Um, but yeah, she starts reading the teleprompter and then the teleprompter just stops, and so she is forced to improvise.
Mhm. Forced to improvise, and then unfortunately it gets thrown even more off when she starts to see her dead ex-boyfriend in the crowd.
Yeah, and she makes
Has a
a
visceral,
whole
like, body
like, she makes a
reaction.
sober comment and then just, like, she's spiraling. But yeah,
Spiraling.
then she says then the teleprompter, like,
Comes back on, that's what it is.
restarts,
Mhm.
and then it says, "And our next guest is" whatever his name was, I forgot it.
Teddy? I don't remember.
Donald
Yeah,
or
something like that.
something Harold Don or something.
Harrison. No, I don't know.
I don't know.
Um
I forgot his name. I didn't write
That's
it
good.
down, but it was her ex who died in the car crash,
Yeah.
and she looks out in the crowd, sees him in the crowd in a pure white suit, smiling at her, and he just starts getting closer and closer.
His name's
And
Paul.
Paul,
Paul. Yeah,
okay. And,
yeah. He's getting closer and closer.
yeah,
Mhm.
and so she is there and he gets like she closes her eyes for a moment to try to like erase it from her brain, and she opens them and he's gone. And so she's like, "Oh shit." But then the old lady comes up behind her to like touch her, but as she does, it turns into Paul like right there
Mhm. Yeah.
and in her face. So she freaks out, knocks the old lady flying off the stage onto the table, breaking the table. The poor old lady is just like on the ground.
Yeah.
Um,
Everybody's freaking out. And then we cut
and
to
people
after the
are
fact. Oh,
pissed.
yeah, the people who probably are ran the thing are, like, yelling at her mom and her,
And all I could
label
think was she
manager.
tried to say she wasn't ready for this, and y'all
She
forced
did.
her.
She
So
did.
that's on y'all.
And so all this is happening. Her mom won't listen to her. She won't postpone the show, the tour. Like, she's just not listening to um, Skye at all. And so Skye gets some more messages from the unknown number, and she actually starts to text back.
Yeah,
And
she's
then
finally responding because
they
he
send
says,
a
"You're not imagining things."
yeah, and he sends a video of Lewis to her, and it's him basically just being crazy. And so she starts to realize, like, okay, maybe this person can help me out. So she goes to meet him up at um, a bar. And so she meets him up, and
Yeah, uh, and while she's looking at the phone, Lewis's ghost pops up yet again.
yeah,
But yeah, she goes to meet up with the man. He basically explains the curse to her and is like, "You're not imagining things. It drives you insane in a week. It killed my brother, 8 people before you." And he was like, "I want you to help me stop it." And
hmm
basically, he's like, "So we need to kill you." And
hmm
she's like, "Wicca, what?
yeah,
Excuse me." And
she's not
he's
down
like,
for it.
"I'll resuscitate you." And she's like, "I don't know you."
hmm
And
I
he was
mean,
like, because he was like, "We need to do it right now. Like,
excuse me, yeah,
before things get any worse and stuff, like, we need to do this right now."
she should have heeded his warning,
Yeah, she should have done it
honestly.
right then.
Um, and because he's trying to help her, and she's kind of getting a little bit louder too, essentially, with the more stuff he's telling her. And
She's like,
just
"Are you
her,
fucking crazy?"
yeah, and so her reactions essentially are drawing attention to them because someone realizes who she is, and they're like, "Oh my god, it's fucking Skye Riley." And so they all start to, get around her. She has to get out of there, of course, because they're all recognizing her. I love how one person you can just hear, like, they're like,
I watched
I
that
love
video of you
I lo
knocking that old lady down like 80 times.
I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then she runs off. But yeah, we had Paul, not Paul, Morris introduced, and so it kind of gave us like it explained enough to us for us to kind of get what we need to do for the next like 40 minutes of the movie, but
Yeah.
essentially gave us no information or background on this entity other than well, we kind of already knew, you
Yeah.
know.
Kind
Um,
of explaining it yet again and
yeah,
just
because in the first one we kind of knew
giving a
like it was
semblance of hope though. It did
that's true.
like
That's
make
true.
us feel like we could get
We could
out of
beat it.
it.
We could beat
Yeah.
it, yeah, and so
And
she ends up, leaving there, and then that's whenever we end up going back to her house
mhm.
because she was to take those pills that she did get from, Lewis, but before she can take them is this where we get all those people in her apartment scene?
Yes.
Yeah,
She turns on all the lights, chugs of
mhm,
water, throws her back out trying to get her toothbrush up off the ground, and then that kind of pisses her off. So then and she's like freaking out a bit. She spills all the pills, so then she's just like, "Fuck." And
that's
then
right,
she starts ripping her hair out, destroys her bathroom by
that's
throwing
right,
that hand mirror through the shower.
mhm,
Um, and then she's like finally just grabs her toothbrush in the suitcase. She's going to go pack it to get out of town. And she walks into the closet and this was probably the creepiest part of the whole movie for me. Um was this closet full of smiling people. The way they moved was so like they moved so expertly
yeah,
and they just
choreographed very well.
yeah, and it was like red light green light
Yeah.
basically happening, and they were chasing her, and I was just like, "Ooh, no, 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 no." Like, "No, no, no."
Yeah, and they're chasing her throughout the entire apartment, and every time she essentially, like you said, right, like green light, she made a move, they would make a move. And anytime she would turn her back, they would go after her. So she has to basically like keep her
And they,
face
like,
facing
climbed each
them.
other,
Yeah,
and it was so creepy, like, how, like, they filled the whole space, like, ceiling to floor, and it just was wild.
effortlessly. Those
Yeah.
like little ants climbing on each
Just like
other. And escalates to her basically, like, being like, "Alright, I'm gonna make a run for it," and she tries to run all the way to the front door, but she doesn't make it because they start to pull her in. They pull her back from the door, they start to put her on the ground, they start to essentially she hits her head on the piano, and then she gets to the ground, and they're like
ripping at her hair,
yeah,
they're
they've all got
pulling
her
at
from
her
all her limbs,
body.
and then one puts his fucking arm down her mouth and
And
just
do you
starts
think it was the
to hurt
same
himself.
creepy guy from the fan meet and
Earlier?
greet? Because yeah, his arm looked like it had the same, like, skin issue
I don't know. I don't
that
know,
it
honestly.
had,
It could have been.
um, but yeah, he shoves the whole arm down her throat, um, and then
Not fun. Poor
yeah.
girl. She ends up waking up in a hospital bed, right?
Yeah, and
But
but
not
not
before the
before she has a
flashback, yeah.
flashback, yeah, of being in the car before the crash. She's doing coke, they're
As one does.
intoxicated, and they're
Yeah.
driving down the road, and they are so toxic because 'cause
Yeah,
they're
this is
arguing
really
about
bad.
her being, like, psychotic, and then he was like, "Ha ha ha, you psycho bitch," and then she's just like, "Oh, I'm psycho," and it was just, like, fucking unhinged, and then he was like, "You're so fucking ugly when you cry,"
Yeah.
and then that makes her kinda shut up a little bit, and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna cry now, you big little baby, me, me, me," and then she
Yeah.
finally has enough of it.
And she grabs that wheel.
Yep, so she caused the crash.
Mhm. Which in and itself is just, like, so much that she has to deal with now, right? Because he's dead, and, like, even though they were going through that shit, now she's, like,
Got that on her
the
conscience.
survivor's guilt and then knowing that she caused it, and I'm sure she literally hasn't probably told anybody that. Like,
No.
I'm sure people just think that, well, they were drunk and he crashed and it was, huh, it's his fault or something, And
Yeah.
so, yeah, she's literally living with that secret. So that in itself is probably like, honestly, maybe if she wouldn't, this little entity wouldn't have gotten to her, like that might have ate her away.
Yeah.
And And so we get this horror, like they crash, like it's really bad, like caused it, and then we wake up in the like resting, get
Wellness
well
hospital.
wellness facility that she's at, and her mom's explaining to her like, well, we found you and like you had like bumped your like you hit your head on the piano, like you had a concussion. And essentially, she's just like, we just need to get you better because you got a big show coming up. Like her
Yeah.
mom still at this
And the
point is just
doctor
like
said that you were sleep deprived and
dehydrated.
dehydrated.
Yeah.
But yeah, she immediately goes into like, well, there are no second chances, like, because she tries to tell her that she can't do the show, and her mom's like,
It's
listen here,
either
you
this or
little bitch.
rehab. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
And she's like,
there's
you're an
nothing.
ungrateful little shit.
Yeah. They were
Hmm.
fighting bad. Like, they were
Yeah.
saying some deep cut things where I was like, oh God, if my mama told me that, I would be crying.
Yeah. But I mean, like, they are, and when you look at it, I mean, like, they're both understandable. Like, I mean, you could see it from like that mom probably did give up her career and did give up a real life to just like literally manage her kid,
Plan and manage
and like,
every aspect of her life for
mhm,
her
like,
to throw it away on drugs once. So
yeah,
she thinks like, because she even says, doesn't she, like, we're all just kind of waiting for, like, nobody expects anything of you anyways.
yeah.
Like,
And
we
she's
all
like, we
think you're a
all
fuck up
literally, and she's like, and after everything you've already done, we're all literally here still trying to help you. And like,
because we
it's,
love you, but
yeah,
then admits like people really didn't expect much of her.
yeah, because it's all in self interest too, right? Because
And it could be the entity talking at that point as well.
then we have her,
Mom
what,
goes smiley.
well, because Sky says, I wish for once that you could just feel what it is like to be inside of my head. And
Hmm.
then the mom's like, I have been inside of you and it tastes amazing.
Yeah. And it
And
was
she's
like,
like,
what?
it's like, I want more.
Yeah.
And then Sky's like, oh no, please no. And then like the thing just breaks the mirror. And then her mom starts like stabbing herself,
In the
stabbing her eye
neck.
out. And
Yeah.
then Sky is trying to escape, but before she can leave the room, she ends up realizing that the glass shard of glass was in her hand the whole time.
Hmm. Oh,
And
and the needle that was in her arm, sorry,
oh yeah, that whole
so
like pulling it
long.
out.
And I was like, why was that needle so long?
I don't think it was.
I don't think it was either. But
I
I
think
was
it
just
was
like, she kept
the
pulling it and pulling
psychological
it.
part
And
of
I
it.
was like,
Yeah.
when is it going to stop?
And
Ugh, it freaked
also
me out.
the needle that Morris needed to pump into her later. I don't think it's that thick.
Yeah. Yeah. That one was, yeah.
Because
She
that
was like,
literally looked like a
seriously?
turkey baster
Yeah. It was
too.
really
Like,
big.
how is that a needle? How does that go through you?
Yeah.
And
It's like a
so
spinal tap needle. That's how big those are. The
are
spinal
they?
tap needle that I got was about that big.
But like how wide are
It
they?
was
Like,
pretty thick too.
because that literally looked like it was like a straw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it
But
did have a cover over it,
oh, you're right. You're right. Because she
I
did have
think
to
at
like,
first. Yeah, she had to like pull it off and then so but
maybe it wasn't
it
as
still
thick,
was
but
a really big needle.
and
But
and
yeah,
and and so yeah, she's like freaking out because essentially it's looking like she just killed her mom and like
yep.
what she thought was like a different hallucination. But um she's getting out of the room. She
Blood
puts
is
on the
literally on her hands. Oh,
sweatshirt.
sorry. I loved when she was smacking herself with her bloody hand and the
And
blood
it,
just like splattered over her face.
yeah.
I thought that scene was really good.
Because
I
she
liked
didn't even
that a lot.
like because she was so disassociated that she didn't even realize that like all the blood was there, I think, essentially. Or like
Yeah.
not realizing that this is gonna make my situation a bit worse.
Yeah.
But
I
she
think she was,
does
yeah, trying
wash.
to knock some conscious like sense into
Mhm.
herself and
She does um end up
wipe
washing
off.
it off though, yeah, and is able to get out of the room. And then she gets to the lobby waiting area, I don't know, main area. And of course, Josh notices her and is just like, oh my God, like we need help. And I love how she's just like, shut the fuck up. Like,
Yeah, because he
stop.
was like,
Yeah.
and yeah, and then finally she gets a plan
Mhm.
and kind of leans into the everybody coming over to her and she's like, "Oh my god." And then the security guard comes up to her and she kind of latches onto him, pulls that gun off of him, and then is like, "Everybody back the fuck up."
Yeah.
and
Shoots it up to the sky, and I like how when she does shoot it up, it's very realistic because
because
it
she
like
like jolts.
yeah, the
Yeah,
recoil, yeah. Um, and
because that was
then
a
she's
big gun.
it was, and then she's like
Or maybe
also
she's
like
just a really tiny person.
also, what if she just shot like some patient up in
I
room
know, that's what
102?
I thought. I was like, "Ooh, what if, like, someone was up
Yeah,
there and now they're dead,
and,
got shot through the foot or something?"
she is, and it's so funny too because she is trying to she's like, like, I'm sorry," and then the other dude, what's his name? Maurice or whatever, uh, the tour guy,
Oh,
he's like,
Darius.
"Darius," he's like, "What about your tour?" And she's
And
like,
she's like, "Fuck
"Fuck the
the
tour!"
tour."
Like, yeah, literally. I love that
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, she was like, "Fucking stop talking about this, like, literally something so much bigger is happening right now. Like, I
Yeah.
can't even think about this tour."
And and
Um,
and she escapes. She's able to get outside.
mhm.
And thankfully, who's here just in time?
Gemma shows up. Gemma, a real
Ah,
one.
yes. And oh, and also like right after Sky steps on fucking glass outside,
Mhm.
it's just kind of like one of those things where it's just like, you've had one of those days. Nobody's had a day like Sky right now, but I mean, like, those days where it's just like that
Just
one other thing just
more
fucking
the
happens.
icing on the cake.
It really felt like that because even she was just like, God damn.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah. She was been
but
through it.
yeah,
But yeah, Gemma shows up. She's like, "I just got dropped off by the driver over there." And then so she like hijacks the car and she's trying to drive away on her own, but Gemma's like, "Bitch, no, let me in that car with you. Like you can't drive." And so this is where I was like, "Hell yeah, Gemma, you you a fucking real one."
yeah.
And then she was like later on, she was like, "Okay, where are we going? Like what are we doing?" And she's explaining to her and
She's like
uh
Staten Island, and she's like ill.
ew. Yeah.
Why would you want to go there?
Gross. Why would you want to go there? And then but then she's like, "Bitch, I'm your ride or die. Like we're
Mhm.
going."
Yeah,
And
because
then
Sky was like, pull over. Like, I've ruined your life so much. I don't want to ruin it anymore.
yeah, like you got to get
Mhm.
away from me. And she was like, "Absolutely not. Like fuck that noise. This is not happening." And so I was like hardcore cheering for Gemma. I was just like, she is like the savior. And then I felt so betrayed when Gemma starts calling her. And I
Not
thought
even
I
like 2
was
minutes
just
later.
like, I thought like still the sleepover and everything still happened. And like, I thought
All of
all
it.
of that. And then she
All of
was
it.
like, "I got your call. Sorry it took me a few days to get back to you." And then I realized slowly that Gemma never showed up. And I was like, I was hurt.
No, me too.
It got me. That twist got me. And I was like, no, no.
Gemma's been
uh."
fake this whole time. And it's really um I guess it's kind of a moment that did kind of happen for us as the audience because Sky gets to then have this moment where she's just like, "No, like you are not in control. I'm in control right now. Like it's me. It's
So
me."
I guess where to find me.
Yeah, and so she's like, "I'm the one they want." And so she's like, um, having this moment of having to shake off the hallucination. And she comes to in like the middle of the road and she's been driving this whole time. One, that is terrifying. But two, yeah, she takes back control of the vehicle and she is pulling in now to what is essentially a Pizza Hut.
A Pizza Hut, yep,
And
that's
she,
been like abandoned or
mhm,
something. And
and
I
she
was like,
meets
what a
Mr.
sketch
Morris.
ass plate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she was like, "What is this? A Pizza Hut?" And I was like, "What?"
Yeah. And so then he gets her inside, and that's when it's explaining to her, like, essentially, we have to kill you and we have to stop your heart. What I'm going to do is administer this drug to you. Now, if I were to administer it to you normally, you would die in 2 minutes. But I found this Pizza Hut with a big ass walking fridge, and if we lower your temperature just enough to just the right temperature, you will stay you there will be
Nope.
basically like this window of like 9 minutes, right? That
Yeah,
she'll
9
mhm,
minutes where no
mhm.
permanent brain damage will happen.
Yeah.
because she'll die instantly, like within
Yeah.
30 seconds. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Yeah.
then there was 2 minutes before permanent brain damage
That's what
happens,
it is. Yeah.
and then nine
To
minutes
revive
if
her.
she's freezing.
And
And
he
so,
basically wants to keep her dead as long as he can just to make sure that this like thing goes away.
goes away, yeah.
Mhm.
And he's like explaining, I need to inject it into your internal jugular. And then she was like, What? Excuse me?"
Yeah, I really at this point to me, because I'm yelling at her, like I'm like, "Girl, you're gonna die anyways. Do it."
Yeah, just
But
do it.
at this point too, I'm just thinking like, you come all the way this far after everything you've seen to be like, "Mm, I don't know. That needle's just
Yeah.
too big."
Yeah. But she finally does like agree to it.
Mhm.
And she lies down on the table and she's like, I can't believe I might die in the freezer of fucking Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I will not let this fucking thing use me to hurt anyone else. And then he's like, okay, lay down. And then he's like, what? I'll be right back. And I was like, that's gonna. And oh, he mentioned earlier that the freezer door latch is broken. So that um,
Yeah.
you can't unlock it from the outside. And I
Mhm.
was like, well, that's gonna come into play.
Most
Um,
certainly.
and
Also, not him in the most critical of times being like, "Okay, now that we've got you all set up, I'll be right back. I need to go
yeah,
grab one more thing."
yeah. I was like, no, no. And so I was like, I don't trust him leaving. And then sure enough, blood starts dripping from the ceiling. And she
Yeah,
looks up, and what does she see?
and it's herself in the car seat from the car accident.
Hanging upside
And
down.
and what does the entity do? It releases itself from the seat, from the car seatbelt, and falls right on top of her.
Yep. And then it's her against herself. And they
Mhm,
start fighting each other. And the entity's like, it's just you and me. And then she's like, I
mhm.
like wearing your skin.
Mhm. And then she's, like, calling out for Morris, and then she's like, "Morris can't help you now." And they do this whole little fighting bit. The entity does start to kind of take over Skye and, like, beats her down, and then it, like, puts its fingers in her mouth and
And
is
she says,
about,
look at me. And
"Look at
this is
me,"
where we
and
get the big eyeballs that you don't
the
like.
big bulging eyes, and then it just looks cartoonish to me. And
Yeah,
then,
it did look a little
uh
cartoonish, but thinking back to the first one and the entity and the ending of the first one, the drag monster,
oh, yeah.
um, it
Same.
just it
Mhm.
gave the same vibe. So I kind of appreciated it that
Mhm.
it like at least was consistent.
Yeah, that's true. And it's basically about to do what we essentially think happened in the first one, and how to all its other recipients, how it starts to like crawl into their mouths. But
Yeah.
she does the thing where she has this little flashback, right? One more flashback?
Um,
Or not. It's just kind of like as a moment where she is kind
she
of
just
like
locks down on it.
she locks in, and she's just like and starts biting its fingers off, and then she's like, "No, you know what? I'm not letting you in," and she ends up stabbing herself.
Injecting herself, yeah, with
Mhm.
the
The
stuff that's
serum or
supposed to stop
whatever,
her
yeah.
heart
The substance.
and the substance.
Plot twist.
And she like starts going vision starts getting hazy and stuff. And then the entity is just kind of like,
"No, no!" Well, at first it's playing along. It's kinda like,
yeah,
"No, no,"
my
and then
blood,
I'm melting,
my melting.
and then it starts to kinda just giggle and look at her and just be like, "Ha, ha, 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 ha."
It's not real, bitch.
Yeah, and then gets her up essentially, and Skye gets onto, like, the back of the freezer door, but then it's
Can't
not a
get it
freezer door
open.
anymore, and you can't
Yeah.
get it open, and then the entity pushes her in, and it's like she's in this thing now. We don't know what it
And
is just yet, and
well,
then
I was
did
like,
you
she's
recognize it
on
immediately?
stage. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
'Cause she
And
says
then
break a leg out there too after that, and I
well,
was
yeah,
like,
right after, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so then I was like, "Yep,
Ooh,
yeah,
and
she's
it
100% on stage."
pops it open, and she is in her full outfit that she didn't wanna wear earlier,
Yep,
and she is on stage, the crowd is cheering for her, and she sees her mom in the crowd, and she's just like telling her to smile, and she's like, poor thing, you see it in her eyes, she's just like like given up. Like she's just like
Like, what
defeated.
the fuck is happening?
And then she looks in front of her after looking around the whole room, and there's a different version. There's a whole other Skye in front of her, same exact
Yep.
outfit, mirrored, and it's just smiling at her. And then the uh outfit starts to rip apart, and then it starts to rip apart at her its scar, and then it just opens, and then like it's just like these hands pop out. It
Yeah.
looks like the hands that you like throw at the wall and
Slappy.
they stick.
Yeah. The little
Yeah.
slappy, sticky hands.
Yes.
Yeah, because the way that they do come out is very much like that. And
Yeah.
the monster just starts coming out. The top half of Skye's body just like falls to the side. And
Very
then the
creepy.
monster comes over to her, starts putting the fingers in her mouth, starts opening up, and then it like, gets inside of her. But like she's just, then we flash, we don't really see it like go inside of her, but
Yeah.
you can kind of infer, because then we flash to the audience and they're all silent and you just see like Skye like
Stand up.
convulsing on the ground.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then you see her stand up and I was like, oh my god, no, she's about to infect all of these people. And
Sure
then
enough,
she
turns
stands up,
around,
she turns around,
smiling,
smiling.
and then she
And
just starts to, and
I
it's
was a little bit like, what the fuck is she gonna do with a microphone?
yeah,
But she,
she
I
found a
guess with
way.
enough force, yeah, you can do whatever you want. And it stabs the microphone into her eye, gets it like deep.
She's basically doing this, I feel like,
Yeah.
until it like went into her head.
Went
Yeah.
into her head. Yeah.
So far,
And all of these people have the curse now.
yeah. And with the microphone too, that's even worse because you just hear all of it.
Yeah.
And
With the
yeah,
squelching. And it's
we get
just
the
like,
whole we get the
you can
whole
see the
and
whole crowd like, ah.
I like how they show the view from the audience and not a view of the audience and not her doing it. So you just
Yeah.
like see them all like like trying not to watch, but they're all still watching. Like and I
Yeah.
think it's a testament to the human condition because nobody is like every everybody's like still watching, but in horror. Like they can't take their eyes off of it. And then that
Yeah. It's
might
like the
be
train wreck situation.
it might be something too where the entity like makes people entrances them a bit to where they can't
Yeah.
look away. And yeah, they witness her unalive herself. And essentially, yeah, she's just infected how thousands,
Thousands of people.
if not other people. What if this was live streamed,
Yeah.
And because surely they wouldn't put it up on YouTube. But then there are the people who are gonna like put it up on Twitter or X, or whatever, or where
Hmm.
people can see it. TikTok.
Because yeah,
So
there were people video recording in the
recording, yeah.
crowd.
Uh-huh. And
And
so and who's to say that they wouldn't upload it before they start to have all the shit happening and then they don't realize, what they're sharing.
yeah,
But yeah, I love how it just ends with her on the floor dead, smiling and blood, and then it's just like that's it. And
that's
that's
it.
the
Yeah, I
end of
was
Smile
like,
2.
damn. Ugh. That's how it
There's
made
a
me
third one
feel.
already being made, so I don't know
Oh,
if it's
there
gonna
is.
like yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know if it's gonna necessarily take because to me it's like that's just so uh I could theorize all day, right? Because is it like does it then start attacking one by one? Does everybody start having hallucinations at the same time? Like is
I feel
it
like they
an
would.
ent-
And
an
then there's
entity
going to
that
be
is
like
able
mass
to
unaliving themselves and like
Mhm.
in 7 days. And then like,
and then
but then
and then
with the
all those
host doing that, like it's eventually going to run out of people,
people, right? Yeah.
especially on such a large scale. Like going through it one by one is like something, but like
Could do
now,
that for eons.
yeah,
And now it's like the whole earth would be destroyed in like 6 months or something, essentially. But
yeah, it's wild. It was a good movie. I liked it.
I liked it too.
You want to go into Boo ratings?
Yeah. I honestly would give it a 4.5.
4.5.
I liked the overall, like, I feel like the concept already with the first movie was pretty fresh, was pretty kind of, I mean, we have seen like It Follows and other curse movies where it's kind of like you have to pass it on to someone else. But um I think it was still pretty kind of creative and original. And then this movie really took it, I feel like, to the next level where it was like, can we take the magic of what we did with the first one, but then like what happens if we gave it to like a Lady Gaga or like a, you know, a someone who's in the public eye, anybody really, like
Yeah.
how would they handle it? And then how would that situation then like what would be the new problems that would come from it happening to someone on that caliber? Um and I felt like the acting overall, like from Naomi, was really good.
Mhm.
I think she gave like I honestly feel like she should get an Oscar for like how convincing her spiral into craziness was, because her her little moments where she would like have an outburst at someone, or her raw emotional moments, or the moments where she's trying to like be resilient and like be strong and fight through the whatever it is, like they were all very convincing, and they were all very like, it was all very human. Like I was like, damn, like this that would be me, like that'd probably be me, you know.
Yeah.
And she, it never felt, even like her argument with her boyfriend in the car, like it never it never felt like over the top, even though it was all super exaggerative and like very explosive and big. Does that make sense? Like it never felt like
Yeah.
bad acting. I
No,
don't
no,
know.
it
And I
didn't.
feel
It
like,
was
and I feel like there
very
was a lot
good.
of moments where it could have felt like that, you know? And even the mom, like the mom did really good at like making me feel like, damn, like you're just like a crappy mom. You're a crappy stage mom. And
Yeah.
the assistant gave the perfect line between like kiss ass and like trying to like, you know, be there, but also especially when he was giving that sweater, gave her that sweater, and he was just kind of like awkward about it. It
Yeah.
was so believable. I was like, that is such a real like moment. Cause what do you do in that moment when you're trying to like be helpful to someone, but also like, you know, she don't give a shit about you?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Um, I really enjoyed kind of how we got to learn a little bit more about the demon or whatever it is, even though it's still kind of mysterious. I wish we could have learned a little bit more, but then I think about it, I'm like, would that ruin like kind of like the scare? Because it does
Yeah.
add that we still don't necessarily know really anything about it. And this movie did, even though like you almost want her to win because you're rooting for her so bad, and you're like, poor thing is just going through it. Um, I kinda like that it was like, "Nah, we're you don't get a
You're
happy
fucked
ending."
anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, uh-huh.
It's one of
Um,
those where, like,
it had
the
guts.
moment it latches onto you, you're
I
dead.
think I think the director really made some really, um, like, smart decisions, and, like, decisions that honestly could have gone really wrong and, like, really, like, whatever, or, you know, and it ultimately made for a pretty strong, um movie that literally when I first watched it in the theater, like I was on the edge of my seat, and the whole time, like I was like um so anxious. Like granted, I mean it's not a good feeling, but if that's what was the point of the movie, to make me feel like, they succeeded.
Yeah, they did.
Hmm. Yeah. So 4 to 4.5 boost for
Nice.
me.
Um, Fun facts.
Hmm.
So ensuring the sequel was different from its predecessor meant basically meant giving the film a unique look. Parker Finn wanted to depict a glammy, shiny, very fun pop star's world, but also make it feel very cold, frigid, threatening, and almost alien. He said this meant avoiding using the horror settings of cold, creepy basements and shadowy attics. So Finn said he wanted to find fear, dread, and unease in an unexpected environment.
That's true. Now that I think about it, everything was very like public places, like open spaces. Lighting was always good. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
like scary movie vibes. Yeah,
Hmm.
maybe that's why it was extra scary.
Yeah, because it was like all in broad daylight.
Hmm.
For Drew Barrymore's cameo, this one's kind of long, sorry. Parker Finn explained that the idea came about as part of an effort to conjure what he referred to as credibility for the story's lead character. When the audience meets Skye Riley at the start of the story, we are meant to recognize her as an established, world-renowned star, and that's something you can simply sell by having her be interviewed by a well-known real-world talk show host. In Finn's words, I really, in building this pop star of Skye Riley, played by Naomi Scott, wanted to lend credibility to the character and sort of blur the lines between reality and fiction and make her feel almost like she really existed in our world. And so I had this idea of introducing her on a talk show, but I was like, I want to do a real talk show. Drew Barrymore has been hosting the Drew Barrymore Show since 2020, and Parker Finn said he wrote the early scene with her in mind. He wrote to her, including the script pages, hoping that she might take part, and he was delighted to get a yes. The writer-director continued, I love Drew Barrymore, and I wrote the scene, and then I sent it to her, and I also wrote a letter to her, and she was so gracious and said yes, and it was what it was. Such a fun dream to get to work with her and do that.
That's cool.
That was very wordy, but
it's a horror legend, yeah.
But yeah, it was. And so I was like, what a fitting and to then place her in our world was a good move on his part. The line, "This is going to ruin the tour," was actually a joke that was said on set, which writer-director Parker Finn wrote into the script.
Oh, cool.
And as we know, Kyle Gallner is the only actor to reprise his role from the first film. Mm-hmm. And then Naomi Scott said she modeled Skye Riley after Lady Gaga. Furthermore, when she was scrolling through her contacts to Jim, as you can see Gaga above.
It's funny too, because there were definitely moments in this film where I was like, that's Gaga. Like their reference for whoever this pop star they were creating, it was Gaga. Especially and I don't want to be like a little monster and be like everything's Gaga, but she had the hood, that hooded outfit. And I was
with the white.
And Gaga did it in red. And I was just like, that is so nobody else has done that since Grace Kelly in the 80s or but Grace Jones, but how do you say Grace Kelly? But anyways, that's funny that you say that, because I thought especially some of the outfits, I was like, it's giving
the outfits were very Gaga,
giving early Gaga, and the hair is giving 2013 art pop.
Yes,
whenever she had her short blonde hair like that, very applause. But
applause.
What's your rating?
I thought this film was great. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting to. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's because I came in with really low hopes after not really enjoying the first one. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to give it a 5.
Whoa.
Yeah. I really thought it was good. The only thing that I didn't like was that car horn scene. With the like that. That part was a little cheesy to me, but I can overlook it based on the acting. The acting was incredible. Like you said, now will she get an Oscar for it? Probably not. No. But I mean, we did see Demi Moore win with The Substance with the Golden Globes.
But I don't even think this is nominated for it's
anything.
Not. Yeah. Poor thing.
But she is well deserving. I mean, if nowhere else, let it be known that we fucking loved her work, Naomi Scott's work in this film. She did a phenomenal job. I've never really seen her in anything else. I haven't seen the live action Aladdin.
No. Or the Charlie's Angels movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen that new Charlie's Angels movie either. I just
she was also in
the soundtrack because Ariana Grande did it with Miley Cyrus and Lana Del Rey.
She was also in from a long time ago, Lemonade Mouth. You ever watching Lemonade Mouth?
Yeah, I do remember Lemonade Mouth. I think that was a little past my time of watching Disney religiously. And so I never really I saw Lemonade Mouth, but I was more of a camp rock kind of girl.
Lemonade Mouth came out in 2011.
Yeah. So I think I had I was still watching Disney films and stuff, but like I wasn't watching Disney
Channel.
yeah. And so I never really saw her in much else. But now I'm like, damn, she was so incredibly talented. And then everyone, even like Lewis playing that fucking unhinged drug dealer at the beginning, like switching back and forth between being completely paranoid and freaked out to then being like like completely coked out. He did a phenomenal job. I just thought that all the acting was really well done. I liked most of the like shots and the transitions like we talked about earlier in the film or in the episode. And I just, maybe again, it's because I came in like with little to no expectations that I really was like pleasantly surprised. And I was like, no, I fucking liked this. And maybe it's because it's been a hot second since I watched a horror movie because we haven't covered any. I mean, I saw Nosferatu, but like, well,
it's a period piece. It's not a horror movie.
Yeah. You and
that's a love story.
Nosferatu's biggest fan. Like
the only ones, apparently. Everyone else loves it.
I just couldn't get past the fucking mustache. But Bill Skarsgård did a phenomenal job.
He did a phenomenal job.
Nosferatu at some point, but it just like
I think the original.
I want to see the
even the original Nosferatu gave me some like almost sense of eerie, scary, creepy, oogie, boogie, and this just gave me like The Notebook, but
horny,
and Victorian. Like I don't know, you know, like that's all. Like that's it. Like
I have a little parrot kitty.
You do. She's so cute. Makes me want to go pet my kitty.
Go get her.
Yeah. But
yeah, that's it. You got 4.5 and a 5. I bet you weren't expecting me to say 5. Were you?
I wasn't. No. I mean 4. Not 5. But
no, I really liked it.
Yeah.
I was just saying I really liked this film. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is our
I wasn't expecting me to say 5 either.
So that gives it like 4.8 probably?
Yeah, 4.75.
4.75 from your base. And we're looking forward to covering some more movies this year. Please make sure to stick around with us. And to all the new people who are tuning in, thanks for listening to us. And hopefully you get to join us for the rest of this wild ride. And yeah, anything else you'd like to add, BooBaes?
I don't think so. Thank you guys for listening and sticking with us for another year. And we're sorry that we took another break, but life is what it is. I don't know if Andrew would want me to say that, but never mind. We had some big life changes. And so not between Andrew and I. Andrew and I are fine. Sorry, I realized that sounded kind of ominous. Andrew and I are great. But like we had some big life changes, and
we have to take care of this.
Moving and stuff, and it's just so we had to take care of ourselves for a little bit.
You're so cute. I love how you we're trying not to get into it, and you just basically just
but I didn't say we did.
But yeah. And so and
as always,
I also just a nice break. Nice little break. I got to spend a lot of time with family. So that's what I needed. So yeah.
Yeah. I also saw family. I was in Nashville for my cousin's wedding, which was really exciting.
Oh, she's giving you kisses.
She is. She's licking all my skincare off.
Aww. With her serrated tongue.
Yeah. Little sandpaper tongue.
That's awesome. Nashville.
Yeah, we went to Nashville, came home. I drove to Houston yesterday to pick up and see family again, to pick up some furniture and stuff that my grandparents are moving, and just across Houston, not like out of state or anything, but they're downsizing, and they were like, here, do you want this 100-year-old cedar chest? And I was like, it's old. Yeah.
I want it.
And so she gave me that and a French antique commode. Not like a toilet, but like
Mhm.
where like a water basin for like washing your hands and
Oh,
stuff. And just holding water, like wash your face and stuff like that.
yeah,
So that was pretty cool. And she gave me like a old egg dish, like holds deviled eggs and stuff.
that's
She
cute.
gave me a whole bunch of stuff. So, but yeah, so we've been living life, but now we're back and it's back to regularly scheduled programming. What are we going to do next? I'm fine with
No
anything
clue.
from that list that you
The list
sent
that I
me.
sent you?
Yeah.
Mm,
I wanted to
I
go with
can't remember
Smile
the
2
list.
for this one because I knew how much you liked it.
Yeah, and it's kinda good too because we had covered the first one. So, if you haven't listened to our first Smile episode, here is your chance to go back and listen to that one too.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, Caitlin hated it.
Yeah, I did not like it. But this time I
Um
like the sequel better.
And
So that is
that
really fun.
kinda that doesn't happen always. So that's a
No.
really good feat for them. I'll have to take a look at my list, but I think that, um,
Ooh, I want to do Long Legs.
then we're gonna do Long Legs.
Yay.
Long Legs it is.
Yeah, because I've been really wanting to see that. I haven't seen it yet.
So if you'd like to be ready and listen to that and already have watched it, you can watch it before next week, you guys. And as always, we are getting recorded and taken care of by our Lovely Rogue Media Network studios. We are not
That's
in
right.
our network studio today, but they're still making sure that we get this lovely recording to you guys. And what else, Caitlin?
You
Take
can
it away.
listen to us and a slew of all the other amazing podcasts that are on their network all in one central place, and that is
At roguemedianetwork.com.
that's right. And then if you want to listen to us, you can do so on a really wherever you get your podcasts, but the biggest two would be
Like Apple.
and also Spotify platforms,
Mhm,
that is. I
mhm.
forgot to say platforms. um, but you can also reach out to us. Let us know your thoughts on Smile 2. If you liked it better than the original, if you didn't like it, if
Mhm.
you had anything that you just don't agree with what we said or you do agree, let us know. And you can reach out to us on our one social media platform, which is Instagram, and that is at
At BOOBAES podcast because we're your BooBaes, not your BooBabes.
that's right. And until next time, you guys, we'll be covering long legs next. And this episode will come out on my birthday. So happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday, Caitlin!
Yay, it's my birthday.
Yay! It's your
Um,
birthday. And
and then, so I
yeah,
was about to say that the next episode will come out on my birthday, but my birthday's in 3 days. So, or 4 days.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the 13th. So 3 days.
Wait, so it is or is it not coming out on your birthday?
It's coming out
What?
on Thursday is the 16th.
Oh, this episode. Yeah, you were talking about the next episode. Gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha,
no,
gotcha.
this
Yeah, yeah,
episode
yeah.
will come out on my birthday.
Yep.
So happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday.
We covered a good one. I'm happy about it.
And if you would like to send any gifts to Caitlin or any cash monies to Caitlin, her Venmo is we will put them in the links. No. But yeah, if that's is that it? Is that all?
Yeah, I think so.
That's it for our first episode. Well,
Oh, and we
until
have
next
stickers now. You can buy stickers from us.
we have
I
stickers, we
shipped
have
some of them
merch.
out. Yeah. So
Yeah, we have
hopefully I need to
merch.
follow up with people to make sure they got them. But I shipped them
Yeah,
out like, I don't know, a week or
a week
two
ago.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have stickers, you
So
guys. We will post more of them on our Instagram. So you
yeah.
can see, and if you would like to buy stickers, you can. Yes. And until next time,
Until next time, you guys. Bye,
bye,
bays.
bays.
BooBaes.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.